Well, good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of Take 5. It is Thursday, January 5th, 2011. We have a tremendous passage today. We're looking at the parable of the Good Samaritan. We're in Luke chapter 10, verse 25. And behold, a lawyer stood up to put him to the test, saying, Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? He said to him, What is written in the law? How do you read it? And he answered, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your strength, and all your soul, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And he said to him, You have answered correctly. Do this, and you will live. But he, desiring to justify himself, said to Jesus, And who is my neighbor? Jesus replied, A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among robbers, who stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he journeyed, came to where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion. He went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he sat him on his own animal, and brought him to an inn, and took care of him. And the next day he took out 2 denarii, and gave them to the innkeeper, saying, Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, I will repay you when I come back. Which of these 3, do you think, proved to be a neighbor to the man who fell among the robbers? He said, The one who showed him mercy. And Jesus said to him, You go and do likewise. Now, well, it's a good thing I can see without glasses, because look what just happened to my glasses. But God's healed my eyes at least enough for the moment. What's going on here? Well, we got a guy that's, he asked Jesus what the greatest commandment is. Now, this guy kind of has mixed motives. Now, there's some good in the guy, because he does want to know what Jesus says, but then it also says he wants to justify himself when he asks, Who is my neighbor? And that's like a lot of us. There's some good, and there's some impurity in our motives too. So, he's just a regular guy like all of us. But anyway, Jesus uses this opportunity, the guy's question, Who is my neighbor, to tell this parable. And in the parable, you got a guy that's been really beat up bad. Now, who's going to help him? That's the point. Who's going to help the guy? That's who the neighbor is. Now, there's a priest, and a Levite, and a Samaritan. All right? The priest and the Levite don't help the guy. They should help the guy. They're the ones that supposedly are the religious people, but they don't help the guy. They know the guy's hurt. They could help the guy, but they go the other way and purposely refuse to help the guy. The Samaritan, who's not nearly as religious, probably doesn't go to temple or things like that. We don't really know a lot about him, but Samaritans, people around then that time didn't have a real high opinion of him. But the Samaritan sees the guy, and he says, You know what? I'm going to help that guy. And I got to tell you, from my own experience, when I was at rock bottom, the people that should have helped me, the people that knew, the religious people, the leaders, boy, I'm going to get in trouble again. They didn't help me. They did like the Levite and the priest. They went on the other side. But thankfully, there was somebody. There were a few people that helped me. But they weren't the religious people. They weren't people in the church so much. There was one guy in the church that helped me a lot, and I appreciate that. But it was people that were kind of Christians, you know what I'm talking about? Loved God, sort of, kind of, but had their own sin too. Not so judgmental, those people. And they were willing to help a guy that was in trouble. So I want to encourage you. Don't be like this Levite. Don't be like this priest. And if you see somebody in need, you help them. That's what you do. Thankfully, God's given me opportunities. Once since I was helped, I've been able to help several other people, and I still want to always have that heart. And if you can do something for somebody, do it. If you got money and you can help them out that way, do it. If you've got a room you can give to somebody, do it. All right? Just do it. Just love people. Just take care of those in need. Don't be like the Levite and the priest, and it's too much trouble, or it's an inconvenience, or they're dirty, or because it is trouble. It is a sacrifice, and that's what we see in this guy. He took the time. He took him into town. He got him to the hospital or the hotel or something like that, and he says, "Look, you take care of him, and here's some money, and if it's not enough, I'll give you the rest when I come back." Okay, that's a sacrifice. It's what we need to do for others. If we're going to obey what Jesus is trying to teach in this parable, if we're going to obey the second greatest commandment, to love our neighbors as ourselves, anything less is disobedience to Jesus. Now, I'm smiling, I'm keeping it positive, but we want to obey this passage, not disobey. All right, you come back tomorrow for the next edition of Take 5.